Our next speaker is Mr. Kurt Muse. Is he here? Okay.
1989 in Panama. I was in a pretty horrible place, 9 months, and I'd only seen the sun 4 times in 9 months. And I had prayed, cried that I'd one day get out of this place. What I didn't know that there was a Col Van Arsdale out there with a C squadron that was actually planning to save my life. Didn't know the man, didn't know the unit, didn't know the squadron. And that evening, by rotational things, another squadron actually did it. But Lee was part of the group that actually planned that. Now, when we talk of friends to me are somebody that perhaps watches your dogs or helps you fix your car or takes your kids out camping. But how do you call someone that helped save your life and spent 4 or 5 months of his life trying to save my life? It's a little more than a friend. And Lee encouraged me greatly when I got out of this horrible place to write a book. He said, "Kurt, you've got a great story. You've got to tell it." So I did. And in the course of writing the story, I had the distinct honor of interviewing President Bush 41 to get his take on that war. And I had a half an hour appointment with him. And I spent 29 and a half minutes, and I was getting ready to stand up and leave the former commander-in-chief. He said, "Kurt, could you stay here a minute?" "Yes, sir." And he brought in his staff, and he sat the staff down, and he said, "Kurt, I want you to tell me about the rescue." The commander-in-chief knew that I was rescued, but he didn't know the details of the rescue. And I told him in 15 minutes about the rescue. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there was not a dry eye in the house, including the president's. The president stood up, he took my hand in both of his hands and looked at me square in the eye, and he said, "Kurt, where do we get these men? Where do we get these men?" I didn't know. About a year ago, I had perhaps one of the greatest honors in my life. I was invited to this institution to address the junior class. I had 45 minutes in this lovely auditorium, and I told the cadets about my story and the ordeal and the survival and all the things that I think it was important for them to know. But in the end, I confessed to them that when they went out into the world and when they were confronted with adverse situations, especially those that were deeply involved in combat arms, they would probably at some point in their career have a doubt. Can I lead? Can I do this? Can I accomplish this mission? And I told them that they had a distinct advantage over everybody else in the officer corps of the United States Army, and that was where they came from. I said, you all have the advantage of reaching back to this institution, to this thin gray line. You studied amongst them, played with them, studied about them, and there are giants in that thin gray line that you learn from, and you can draw back on their experiences, and you're going to be all right. And I'm here to tell you today that today is to me in many ways a greater honor than that, because, and I think I speak for everybody in here, if you take this institution and you take that thin gray line and you count the giants, one right here, and we are friends of that giant. I want to tell you, Lee, that I'm very privileged and I'm very honored. I know I speak for everybody here that we are privileged to be your friend, and you are indeed a giant in that thin gray line. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, friends and family of Colonel Col Van Arsdale, good evening. I'm Bill Thetford. I am the Command Sergeant Major of a special unit at Fort Bragg, where LAVA, as we affectionately called them, once served with distinction. I was the rookie, Lava was the squadron operations officer, and Lava was the kind of leader that knew you by name, always asked how you were doing, and it didn't matter how long you had served in the unit. He was the kind of leader who cared about his guys. So this room dedication tonight at the Thayer Hotel, it's a unique event, as you've heard described, but for a member of the special operations community, it is even more so special. You have a breed of soldier whose duties are shrouded by secrecy. They never look for recognition, and they live a life as quiet professionals. And many people never know of their deeds or understand that they work for a sense of job satisfaction and accomplishment that most folks can't understand. So I think this recognition tonight for Lava is well deserved. Now, many years ago, Lava and I shared an experience, and now I'll share it with you. C Squadron deployed to Mogadishu in August of 1993. Lava was with us, but he was not in C Squadron anymore. Lava had moved on and was part of us as the JSOC command team. There was something about him getting professionally groomed as a good staff officer. And I know it must have pained Lava to watch us go out on our first half dozen missions or so into Mogadishu. We had some successes. We even captured Osman Otto, one of Adid's primary financiers. And then in late September, our targeting dried up. And C Squadron, we went about our way trying to stay ready, maintaining our equipment, our shooting skills, and we had a pretty mean combat volleyball game going on. Then in early October, we had a source walk in and tell us, hey, I can't get you Adid. He's gone too far underground, but I can help you get some of his lieutenants. And on the afternoon of October 3rd, we launched on a target in the vicinity of the Olympic Hotel. The previous missions, our successes were based on our speed to strike and then quickly exfil from the target. So we never gave the enemy a chance to organize and counterattack. Well, once we suffered a downed helicopter, the mission changed. And as you know, we are now committed to that part of town, that neighborhood. So C Squadron and parts of the Ranger element that we had with us moved by foot and moved towards the crash site, what would become known as Crash Site 1. And as we moved in this urban environment, our casualties mounted. So back at the airfield where we lived and staged, Lava volunteers to lead the quick reaction force to the target, because Lava knows as a squadron member how to link up with us and try to get to us by dark, because getting there by dark would be key. And Lava had the daunting task of trying to lash up forces from not only the United States, but Malaysia and Pakistan. And Lava got frustrated by the time it took to get everybody together and get this thing coordinated. The relief force finally rolled out at about 11 p.m. Lava rode towards the front with the Malaysians and members of the 10th Mountain Division. Once underway, the relief force encountered ambushes and started taking casualties of their own. Because as they got closer to the crisis site, the crash site, things got more intense. And each time they would hit enemy contact, it was Lava that restored calm and got the convoy under control and underway again. Then when the convoy approached a roadblock, the Malaysians chose not to go through it. They had the armored vehicles. Lava gets out, and with some help from soldiers from the 10th Mountain, clears the obstacle by hand under enemy fire, and then they make the decision they're going to move by foot to link up with us at our location. So from my position at the crash site, listening to the radio in my headset, I can hear Lava describe his challenges over the radio. So he's moving through the streets. We're hearing about his contact. And I remember thinking, just who is going to help who tonight? But throughout the enemy contact and the enemy engagements that Lava encountered, his voice was always cool and confident. And I remember his words to this day, "Hang tough, fellas, we're going to get to you soon." And that was just a tremendous boost to our morale. So Lava and crew arrived at our position just around 2 a.m. And then the armored vehicles caught up to us a little bit later. So Lava gets on the ground. He links up with Captain Scotty Miller, who was the ground force commander. And they assess the situation and they start coming up with a plan and how they're going to get us all out of there. So we've got to get all the casualties ready to move. Casualties load up in the armored vehicles, and the armored vehicles are full. So everybody that could stand and walk got to experience what we later called the Mogadishu Mile. Just before dawn, we moved out. Lava knew the threat and the increased danger of taking the same way in that he came in and trying to go out the same way. But he also recognized that was the only way he was going to police everybody up and account for everybody on the way out. So we made that decision, and right around dawn, we started making our way and literally fought our way to the Packy Stadium. And then a short time later, we collected ourselves back at the hangar on the airfield, and we prepared for a rescue mission of Night Stalker pilot Michael Durant. For his actions that night, Lava earned the Silver Star, but he also earned a lifetime of gratitude for those of us in the task force. And then a few months later, Lava rejoined us as the Sea Squadron commander. And I've had the privilege to serve with a lot of great leaders in nearly 30 years of service, and I'm standing here as witness tonight. Lava is among the best. And this recognition here tonight at the Thayer Hotel is a great recognition of his achievements. And I'm here to tell you, sir, job well done, and we are proud of you.
It's hard to equal the stories that have been told tonight, and they're all true. I've come with a different proposition. Mine is in search of a Renaissance man. Is there a weakness? It would be hard for Kurt and all the Delta people to really find a major weakness, but I thought I'd found one. I speak my relationship with Lee and his lovely wife, Mary Lee, from a commercial business standpoint. I said, this is not only a manly man, a man is impeccable. His record in military life couldn't even compare. And importantly, he's transferred that from the military over to the business world and into influencer of major people. I'm going to tell you a little story. I said, Lee, let's go play some golf. I thought I'd had him because he said, I don't play a lot of golf. I said, well, I understand that. So we went up to the Shenandoah Valley and played some, and Lee did fairly well. So I thought I would bring some of my associates and play with him at a country club. So I picked a very notable banker, but I also picked a gentleman who was from the other academy, who was the Corps commander, Top Gun pilot, and Top Gun instructor. So we go out to this country club. Lee comes in, go up the driving range, and Lee hits a few balls. Of course, Lee tells me that he hasn't played more than 20 times in his life. So I said, that could be a problem. So the competing academy graduate sort of got this smirk on his face, said, well, all the things you've told me about Lee is certainly believable, but he's got to have a flaw. He said, when he accepted Noriega's surrender, was one of the stumbling blocks accepting that surrender is that Noriega didn't want to play golf with Lee. So we got over that. Lee was a little slow off the warm-up, so we moved up to the first tee. And Lee hit not a great shot. So I said, Lee, go ahead and hit another one. You can tee it up. And he said, no. My first sergeant wouldn't let me do that. That would just be unacceptable, period. So, and by that time, he comes over and he says, I think the Navy has won. And I said, well, let's go ahead and continue. But at about the third or fourth hole, Lee, whole attitude changes. He hit the ball great. But all of a sudden, the competitor didn't quite know how to react to that. His game went straight down. And it finished very competitive. But I want to just say one thing, that a Renaissance man who can transfer out of the military into the civilian and into the real world, something like a golf, but a social event. This gentleman has 2 children, and they're taking up golf. They're 9 and 11. I played golf with them the following week. And they asked me, he says, you play golf with Lee Van Arsdale, Black Hawk Down and all this. And he says, what do you think of him? I said, there's one thing I'll tell you, and I mean this. If I had a son, I would hope the best thing for my son that he could be half the man that Lee Van Arsdale is. And the competitor Naval Academy graduate says, I would vote and said, you're absolutely right. If you had to model somebody who you'd want your son to grow up with, that would be Lee. That is, his children has picked this up, and they are doing that, and the individual who did that recognizes that, and he would be more than willing to play golf with Lee again, but he wants strokes. I'll turn this over. This is getting long, and I cannot match but to have the ability to influence people's lives, both in the military, in the commercial world, and in the social world, is a unique opportunity. The Renaissance, this is the only man that I can ever say that he is really a Renaissance man. And that is a statement that I have been searching for a long time. I'll turn this over now to the Judge Sullivan, who is the '64 graduate and also the guardian angel of the Rangers. And he'll add some more. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here, and everybody's been singing the praises of you, Lee. Mary Lee has unwittingly invited the wolf into the hen house by asking me to speak here tonight, because I'm going to tell you about Lee and 2 traits I've observed personally. He's an excellent burglar, and he's an unselfish hero. Let's take the burglar first. I don't play golf, so I write novels. When I turned 60, I said I'm going to start writing novels and thrillers, because on my new novel, I needed some expert advice, so I went out to the head of Triple Canopy, Delta Force legend, Lee Van Arsdale, and I said, I want to break into the U.S. District Courthouse in D.C., unnoticed, and exfil, get out without being noticed. And I said, I'm an old airborne ranger, and I figured I'd make a halo jump in, a parachute jump into the top of the thing. And Lee said, if you buy me lunch, and this is where the burglar instinct comes in, if you buy me lunch, I'll tell you how to get in and out, and no one will see you. And he said, your idea of a parachute jump in restricted space around the White House in Washington, D.C. is non-starter. And so I said, okay, let's test the U.S. Marshal. By the way, I'm on the Court of Appeals, so this is a different courthouse than what I normally function in, the U.S. District Court, in my novel to be written. So in my Tahoe with Ranger stickers on it, we slowly circle the U.S. Federal Courthouse in D.C. And I have a pair of binoculars, which every time we stop and we look, and we see where the hanging overhead cameras are, and I'm marking down, and we slowly do a 200 or two complete circles around it in the car. Then the same people park within distance of the cameras. We park our car, and we slowly walk around, pointing out exploits of where the cameras are. And no, by the way, U.S. Marshals, they must be, I don't know, what armor. No one came out to challenge us. And I'm making notes. And we're looking at cameras, and then Lee finds a blind spot where there's a little corner where the camera angle is, you can't see it. And then he reaches up and he gets toe holes and hand holes in the bricks, and he figures it out, and he starts to climb a little bit, and he says, "We can do this." And I said, "Okay." I said, "That gets us to the roof." And I said, "How do we get into the courtroom?" This is a night penetration of a U.S. federal courthouse with shoot-to-kill guards, and so we go in. Of course, I'm carrying a knife. and so I've just flashed my federal judge credentials. And I think he had a knife on him, too. And then I say, "Hey, Marshal, Judge Sullivan," and then we both, buzzed ourselves, with the alarms ringing off. We went right through, and then we went up to the courthouse, and we saw how we get from the roof down to the courtroom and then back out to Exville. And so, anyway, this guy is talented, and no one has hit that tonight. It's a shame that the batter, the last batter up has to hit it. Wayne Downing, a dear friend of mine, the WAD, and he was the technical advisor. Lee was technical advisor for Black Hawk Down, and so he made sure that on a couple of the helmet bands you saw WAD, the WAD. So even though the WAD has gone to heaven, his spirit lives on in the movie. And Wayne Downing says, they're good rangers, but the best rangers are good burglars too. And so that's one thing. Now I'll talk about Sergeant Major. You hit a good point, but there's something that I was told in my Ranger network that as an unselfish point about this man here. As you know, two men posthumously got the Medal of Honor for the actions on the objective in what was called the Night of the Rangers. Of course, Delta was the core of the Rangers. We were there working with Delta Force. Garrison put in 3 men for the Congressional Medal of Honor. Shugart, Gordon, and Van Arsdale. And Van Arsdale went to the general, and this is quoted in my Ranger network, And he said, "Sir, please withdraw my name from the submission for the Medal of Honor. We stand a better chance of getting Gordon and Shugart in if I'm not there. 3 men is too many. 2 men maybe we can get." And that's the kind of unselfish hero that really makes West Point great. If 1 out of every 5,000 graduates, we produce 1 Van Arsdale like that, an unselfish hero, then West Point has earned its place as the premier college in America for not just leadership but everything. And anyway, all right, does anybody else have any stories on the dark side of Van Arsdale? If not, Rick Menicosi, I think that concludes this. It's over to you. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your wonderful comments. That was outstanding. Sir, hopefully you enjoyed those words. I'd like to read a letter. Actually, we received several letters that were submitted to Colonel Van Arsdale, but one stood out to me that I'd like to read, and then I'd like to bring Colonel Van Arsdale and Mary Lee to the podium to unveil the plaque. I could pontificate on Lee Van Arsdale's character, values, and accomplishments using every positive adjective in the language of the world. Every positive statement would be true. However, the most important thing I can say about Lee is that in combat, you never have to worry about his location. He will either be shoulder to shoulder with you or he'll be in front of you. Colonel Van Arsdale, I'd like to bring you forward with Mary Lee, please. Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you, Dan. It's from General William Garrison, Major General, U.S. Army. Thank you very much. I'd also like to invite forward to the podium Stan Waltrip, the founder and CEO of Sundial Capital Partners, and the president of Sundial Capital Partners, Mr. Dan Rice. At this time, I'd like to invite Colonel Van Arsdale to the podium, please.
Thanks, Rick. I tell you, I'm totally blown away. The last time that happened, high explosives were involved. So this is a lot more fun. I had no idea what to expect here. Mary Lee played her cards pretty close to the vest, and So I can't say it exceeds my expectations because I didn't have any. I just know that if it had been left to my devices, there'd be 2 or 3 of us sitting around drinking a beer and having a perfectly enjoyable time and declaring it success. So something like this is just, I can't put it into words. I thank you so much for coming. It is truly phenomenal. My agent, with whom I sleep, if you would please stand up. The use of it's because of her that we're here now. I fully expected when I heard that some of my friends were going to get up and speak that it'd pretty much be a roast. As it is, the comments were so nice we can replay them at my funeral and we'll get a twofer. There are some people that I would like to single out, as Tara so appropriately said, we're all family who are related some way or another, by blood, by marriage, or by common experience. But there are some people I'd like to point out. I've got my sister Fran and her family, or at least her husband. My brother-in-law. Stand up, Fran. Unfortunately, my brother Lane couldn't be here, but I know you appreciated the Louis L'Amour comments as much as I did. When our dad died, I took all his Louis L'Amour books, and I've got them at home now, so thanks for reminding me of that, Ashby. Lee Evans, where are you? Stand up, Lee. I call Lee my uncle because it's easy. His wife, June, was my mom's cousin, and that's kind of a mouthful, so I call him my uncle. But he's been a big part of my life all my life, and if you want to meet a real man, introduce yourself to Lee Evans. And then Kay, my cousin, who, what's your name again?
Beverly Arrows.
I've known Kay all my life, and I find out last night when I check in that her real name is Beverly. So and Tammy and Angie, stand up. We got her daughters, Cammy, Angie, and Rosie came along. If you guys would please stand so that everyone knows who to come and say hello to. I got my other sisters, Emily, Jean Ann, and Jean Ann's husband, David. Stand up, you guys. You're not getting off that easy. And you were able to meet Jack, our first speaker. Jack's family is here. I won't make you guys stand up because Kathy would never forgive me. But they did make the trek here. And also, you know, Jack and I, as he mentioned, we met in high school when he was the new guy. But predating that is Myra, who we went to elementary school together. So stand up, Myra. I've got a number of classmates here. Would you guys please stand up? Everyone who's a graduate or knows a graduate or is related to a graduate knows that being a classmate is something special. So thank you guys for showing up for this. Very meaningful to me. And then, I've got a number of friends and relatives here by dint of one way or another. My OTC comrades, Cato and Kelvin. Where are you, Kelvin? Oh,
Hiding his back.
I was afraid someone from Triple Canopy would be here. Now that you know how I spent my days out with Gene Sullivan. There truly are too many people to list name by name, and there's a couple dangers in that. One, I'd forget somebody, and two, it sounds like you're reading out of a phone book, and three, sooner or later you tumble the fact that I really did not prepare a speech for this. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming to this. Please, this is truly a special group here, and a lot of you don't know each other, so make it a point, after you've shook Lee Evans' hand, to go introduce yourself to someone that you don't know, because, you know, as some other speaker once said, the world will little note nor long remember what's said here tonight, certainly not my unprepared comments, but you have the opportunity to forge new friendships here, and that will certainly be long remembered. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you.